So his mom is sitting there, and she's sitting there, and she's just sitting back or whatever in her
Chris
seat.
loves flying,
His sons are,
and he loves helping
any
others
of the
soar
other
to new
families
heights too.
We're not inside.
So he built a
So as all this going on, the sketch artist is just going. The sketch artist is just going, or whatever, and they're huddled. And then at one time you see his attorney like embrace him and put their hand on his shoulder, like trying to console him as this is happening. And the whole time that you can see they look visibly defeated. The prosecution ain't moved a muscle. They have not moved an inch. They sitting in their seat like this. Hey, what's up? Hey, what you think the verdict gonna be? What you think the verdict gonna be? Oh, okay. What do you think? Hold on, I'm doing a live real quick. All right, scratch that up. All right. So the whole time that his defense team is sitting there and they're nervous. I mean, they're pacing, they're nervous. They're consoling him. The prosecution is sitting in the front row, lined up, all 6 women sitting in their seats with they might as well have sitting crisscross applesauce, sitting there like gangsters. Let me tell you, the prosecution the whole time they were pacing, they were sitting there like straight up G's, okay? And y'all could tip the bucket, okay? I'm giving y'all an exclusive. At least you could do is like the video, and drop a couple of dollars in the bucket, you know, the tip jar. Send in a super chat, a cash app, or something. That would be greatly appreciated. But what's the prosecution sitting up there like straight up G's?
Yeah, they was sitting up there. They was sitting up there like they was happy. You know, they was smiling. I mean, they was nonchalant. They was cool. Like the back is what was worrying. Like, what did you see, Nee?
I saw worry. I saw them looking stressed. Diddy, at one point, we can't tell if he was crying or not, but it looked like he sunk his head in. It was a lot going on.
Yeah,
so
you see how they was huddled like that? They was getting ready to like do another football play or something. Like they was really
they huddled around him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not looking good. It's not looking good. So we're out here.
Thank you for the super chats. I appreciate y'all so much. Yeah, so we don't know what the complete verdict is. We don't know what the actual charge is, not guilty or guilty. I just know what the defense looked like. I just know how they presented in court. I just know how they presented in court and how they look. It is crazy right now. Uda acting like he don't want to say nothing. I think Uda shook, y'all.
I'm shook.
Uda is shook.
Shout out Uda. I see you, Uda. Shout out Uda. Yeah, man.
I don't know what's going on, man. We waiting. I'm surprised that they're trying to come up with the verdict this fast. Whatever. It's a partial verdict right now. So even if it don't go on right now, it will be going down tomorrow. They already looking like they agree on that of it already.
They already agreed to 4 counts. Only waiting on one thing.
How are they so quick to 4? I'm like, yo, this is nasty work or it's good work. I don't know what work it is. But it's some work working. But they did request to get parts of Cassie's testimony and different testimonies. So it shows that they're in there conferring. They're in there doing the knowledge. So they ain't just thinking and talking.
They've been focusing on Cassie. And what did I been telling y'all? When it comes to Cassie, y'all over there thinking that I don't know what I'm talking about. Oh, she's biased. I don't have a side when I cover these cases. Y'all gonna learn I go off of the facts that are presented, what they show in court, what they are alleging. I go off of the facts, okay? Y'all be acting like y'all don't want to listen to me. Okay, I ain't new to this. I'm true to this. Okay, now.
Yeah. So they got he's found guilty on
not guilty. My
bad. I not guilty. They reached a verdict on 4 of the 5
about whether
counts.
they will provide a modified Allen charge. This is basically where the judge will tell the jury, keep on deliberating, keep moving forward, and then if they come to an impasse, if at some point they say we just cannot come to a decision, that's when we are dealing with a hung count as to respect to that count and possibly a partial verdict. In fact, prosecutor Maureen Comey says we are preparing a modified Allen charge Sean Combs' defense counsel, Mark Agnifilo, says, we propose you tell them to continue deliberating and that you not take the partial verdict. No modified Allen charge. The judge said, would the defense request I bring the jury out to say that? Agnifilo says, yes. The judge says, okay, email your proposals, each side. I'll wait. I could give a modified Allen charge, or at some point, I could tell them that they could return a partial verdict.
No, the jurors agreed on 4. They have a verdict on 4 out of the 5 counts. They haven't said if it's guilty or not guilty, but everybody's saying they think the number 1 count that they haven't found on one is the RICO. And I was reading that on Inner City Press. Shout out to Inner City Press. Y'all smashed them lights too, man. So Inner City Press is up there too. Shout out to Neek. That was Neek at night. I don't know if y'all know who she is. Shout out to Neek. Shout out to Uda too, nigga. I seen you. Uda was in the chat the other day, I think. Shout out Uda. He been doing a great job on this case. So at 3 minutes ago, the judge said, I received each side's proposal. Mr. Angelifino, your proposal, there's not much there. Combs and Felicio, I guess that's one of his lawyers. We are not remotely at the place where the jury needs more to deliberate efficiently. They are remarkably efficient. They already have 4 verdicts. I don't know, bro. I don't know, gang. Let's see what Neek say, because Neek is out there right now. I'm gonna keep that one. Let's tap in. Y'all smash them like. Shout out everybody in the chat too. Shout out Uda too, man.
Now she was like, "Is it a verdict? Is it a verdict?" I'm like, "Chill. I don't think so. Not yet."
And then,
but then the more intense it got, the more like they started to console him. I'm like, "Wait, it might be a verdict."
Yeah, well, you've been careful on this, and I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Because there are all these AI videos and all this misinformation of people saying they know when they don't really know.
Right.
So, you've been responsible for that, and I appreciate that, because that voice is needed. But at this point, we just don't know that much, except for they've reached a verdict. But we don't know if it's guilty, not guilty, what's going to happen.
Correct. Shout out to your channel again.
I appreciate that. Thank you. Dodge Landisman, DODGE.
See, but what I'm thinking, right, and y'all let me know if I'm wrong. Like, all right, if they have reached a verdict on 4 out of the 5 counts, what could they possibly? That's what I'm saying. It's probably the one that they can't decide is probably the RICO one. You feel me? Because right, if they say he's guilty of that, then or maybe they doing not guilty for sex charge. I don't know,
might
bro.
Be wrong. It's double checking, getting those sources. So, and I used to be in local TV news, so I see people who could do it right, and I see people who could really mess it up. And you follow that code.
Right.
And that's important. So congrats. I appreciate it. Keep up the good work.
Hey.
Can I ask you a few questions?
Yes. So what's your
I'm from RTL News. I'm from a European broadcasting network, and we cover the American news for our European audience.
Oh, okay.
Can I give you this?
Yes. Do you want me to clip it on?
Or? Just hold it. If
okay.
You want to. I'm just curious, what you're doing here, and
You say you think it's the sex trafficking? I'm trying to think. 'Cause I'm like, if they agreed on damn, she all right. Who was that? If they agreed on, she like a London woman. So they got them. Yeah. If they agreed on 4, if they came to a decision on 4 of them, oh no, I don't know. I'm trying to make sense of it, right? Like I'm trying to think. Like, all right.
Each side's proposal, Mr. Agnifilo, your proposal. There's not much there. Defense attorney Mark Agnifilo says we are not remotely at the place where the jury needs.
Then I just read that to y'all. See, Inner City Press is really they. Let me see. Let's refresh Inner City Press. Let's see. 1 minute ago, we're not at the point yet. I'm not saying we wouldn't be at the point on Thursday, July 3rd, or Monday. Let's wait and see. I'm putting stock in that they have reached verdicts on 4 counts. Judge, I'm going with that, but I may gave more later. The judge also said I could tell them that they could return on July 3rd. We could arrange that. What do the parties think? So it's looking like they might tell them, to come back. They might end it for the day and tell them come back on the 3rd. So, you know what I mean? This is like literally up to the second info right here, y'all. Hold on, let's see what they saying now. Yeah, so now they saying they saying that what this is talks that they might stop and keep the 40 they got and come back on Thursday. We gonna see, but you never know. It's a court case. They could in 2 minutes they could be like, "Nah, we ready." You know what I'm saying? Let's see if there's any more updates. Let's see. I'm gonna go back to the live. I'm gonna go back to the stream. Hold on, let me see. Yeah, I'm trying to think, bro. Like, what could they be even like? I don't know if they agreed on 4 out of the 5 counts. If they agreed on 4 out of the 5 counts, think about it. Like, if they agreed on 4 out of the 5 counts, bro, it's like
Still can't see the trafficking charge. I've tried many times to give an analysis here and look at the testimony, look
maybe
at
it's trafficking.
the text between them, look at how she was
But if you,
acting,
Yeah.
how long the relationship
So,
was. It's a very
yeah.
difficult.
because this is what I'm saying. I'm saying if they found him guilty of the RICO, then they that everything else falls under that. You know what I'm saying, right? They can they modify the RICO like, or maybe they don't have to. I don't know. I'm trying to think like because if they had came to an agreement that he was guilty of the RICO, they wouldn't be trying to because that everything else will fall under it, right? That's why I'm like, it got to be the RICO, I think, bro. They probably get him some wild sex trafficking charge, but it won't like it wasn't in furtherance of a just you know what I'm saying? It's my guess. That's my guess. Let me refresh in the press one more time. Hold on. Okay, hold on. 11 seconds. Our preference is that you don't tell them now about Thursday. The downside is that the jurors might feel rushed to reach a verdict to avoid the Thursday issue. Let them deliberate tomorrow. You can ask at the end of so that's Combs' lawyer talking to the judge, telling them to let the he's telling them to let him come back tomorrow. Diddy's lawyer is telling the judge, right? He just told the judge to let him come back tomorrow and just figure it out at the end of the day. Uh, uh let's see what Neek talking about. Neek was she was in here. Shout out Neek at night.
On. Somebody said there's a verdict. Yes, on 4 counts, not all. They have not found a verdict on count 1. So, and this is what the fit is looking like, y'all. Okay, I have on a dress. I don't know if y'all can see really well, but I gotta get back in. My leave out is about to get sweated out. Child, makeup about to be running down my face. But I had to come tell y'all first, okay? I had to come tell y'all first, and I appreciate all of y'all for rocking with me. I appreciate y'all.
Shout out Neek. Shout out Neek. She about to go back in. So I guess we can just play this.
The partial verdict is what the jury has essentially announced, which is they have a unanimous decision on 4 of the 5 counts, and that one of the counts they're unable to reach a unanimous verdict at this time. So you have a partial verdict. It's not a clean slate one way or the other, and so there remains
Hold
one
on.
count at this point.
So look, this is what they discussing. 33 seconds ago, inner city. The judge said so the defense will have no objection to them deliberating on July 3rd. So they about to come back on the 3rd, y'all. They about to come back on the 3rd because the judge is asking Puffy's lawyer, are they cool with it? Like, all right, they bringing out the jury. They just brought out the jury. They just brought it. So they about to postpone it to the 3rd. It's looking like. It's looking like they about to. Let's see. We gonna learn right here in a few seconds. These motherfuckers don't even know yet.
In my opinion. And so the accounts that go to Cassie, I think those are the ones that Diddy goes down on. The ones for Jane and the other type of ancillary accounts, I mean ancillary charges, if you will, associated with the other witnesses, I think Diddy may have the possibility of walking on. But I wouldn't bet on it right now, given that the jury did, as you said, asked for readbacks of particular testimony from particular witnesses, and then announced that they have verdicts on 4 of the 5
He said, "Do
counts,
I have
that
natural
tends to
teeth?"
mean that they
He was a nigga.
resolved those
I got a gap.
difficult issues
These
amongst
real teeth.
themselves and arrived, as we know, at a unanimous verdict. So I think that's what we're going to see right here.
Yeah, and just to reemphasize my point before, I cannot see a world where you have potential jurors who are planning to vote guilty on racketeering conspiracy, because that's what we're having right now, right? There's a debate, there's a split. They can't be on the same page. There are jurors who want to convict him of racketeering conspiracy. I cannot see a situation where you have those jurors who would vote guilty on racketeering and not guilty of everything else, or
That's
at
what I
least with
said.
respect to transportation to.
That's what I said. If they convict him of RICO, everything else falls under that. Like, right?
Not at that point yet. I'm not saying we wouldn't be at the point on Thursday, July 3rd, or
y'all see I'm giving y'all see I gave y'all the info first. He's saying the same shit I just told y'all.
Reached verdicts on 4 counts. The judge says, I'm going with that. Tell them that they could return on July 3rd. We could arrange that. What do the parties think? Prosecutor Maureen Comey says, we'd like to give them the option to deliberate on the.
See, he read Inner City Press too. Let's refresh Inner City Press. Let's see if it's in. Okay, 4 seconds. All right, so the judge said, all rise. The jurors entered just now. The judge says, welcome back. I receive your note that you have reached verdicts on counts 2 through 5. I ask you to continue deliberating, discuss, and weigh your respective opinions dispassionately and follow my instructions on the law. So I'm guessing he's going to give them a little more time, and then if not, they're going to postpone it. You know what I'm saying? Shout out to Inner City Press too, man. Y'all doing the hell. They've been on their shit. Yeah, man. Hey, listen. What y'all think? Y'all think Diddy coming home? Hey, listen. Guilty or not guilty in the chat, man. Guilty or not guilty. Because don't nobody really know, bro. Like, except those jurors. Them the only people in the fucking world that know right now. You know what I'm saying? What y'all think in the chat? Guilty or not guilty, bro? Oh, Diddy crazy, man.
Over to you. Got questions coming in. LaRob Show asks, quick question for the panel. Does this mean we'll get a full verdict tonight in the Diddy trial, or could count?
Hell no. Hey, bro, that nigga walk out that courtroom whenever. Hey, listen, what? The internet is gonna shut the fuck down. You hear me? That's gonna be, bro. The internet will shut down if that nigga goes free, bro. This is gonna be the biggest story for fucking a month, my nigga. No cap. Just because how negatively the situation already looks to people. Let's see if they said anything else. Okay, hold on. Let's see. The judge just said, I ask you to return to the jury room. If you decide you are done for the day, send me another note and I'll bring you back out to end the day. Judge says everyone can go back to doing what they were doing. So he giving them some more time, but if they don't want to do it, or if they tired, then they're gonna push it to the 3rd. Or maybe tomorrow, but I think it's the 3rd because they was talking about the 3rd. So it's still a possibility that we gonna get the verdict right now. It's still a possibility. Because they can go back in there and come right back out in 5 minutes. I'm like, all right, it'll be good.
Don't believe there's going to be any kind of verdict on that count tonight. And I think tomorrow they're going to go back, they'll start fresh, and they'll see if they can reach something tomorrow. But I think it's going to be difficult. I think that people have dug their heels in, and when individuals start digging their heels in, and there's more than one, that's when you truly can get a hung jury. When there's one, all the rest just beat up on that one, and then that guy usually ends up turning.
Yep, and we don't know what the split is. Everybody's watching this right now. All eyes are on that federal courtroom in downtown New York, We have a ton of people watching us right now on the live stream. Thank you so much for your incredible support. Thank you so much for continuing to come to us on Law and Crime as we cover this in real time.
So if you're just getting in, y'all, they have a verdict on 4 out of the 5 charges. They just having a problem coming to a conclusion on one of the charges. So they have a verdict on 4 out of the 5 counts, 4 out of the 5 charges. Count 2, 3, 4, and 5. So count 1. I mean, what's 1? 1 is Rico, right? Look, there go Neek right there. You see Neek? Look at Neek shine. I see you, baby, with the blue on.
Eric, great to see you. What is the scene like outside? News of a potential verdict. We were wondering if the crowd would gather, if people would show up. What are you seeing?
Yeah, Jesse, a crowd definitely gathered. I do want to shout out Law and Crime because I believe we were one of the first. We already happened to be live on air and announced 2 through 5, there was a verdict reached and questionable about count number 1. So we're on air as this is happening. All of a sudden, a crowd is forming behind me at the courthouse here. I don't know how well you can see. Also, let me note that it is raining. For a time, it was pouring down rain. So there's so many umbrellas, people getting hit, water falling all over people. The scene is chaos. I will say it's not as big as I initially would have thought, simply because, first of all, it was so hot out today. Then it started to pour rain, and I don't know if people were really excited about the prospect of standing in pouring rain. However, we have seen a crowd gathering outside of the courthouse.
Shout out to everybody in the chat, man. Snow Gang, man. Please smash that like button. Smash that like. Shout out to all the mods. Jazzy. Shout out my dog Sir. How you ain't got where your wrench go, bro? How the fuck? Well, I gotta give your wrench back, bro. What the fuck? You two be playing with this shit. Smash them likes though, but the jury has reached a verdict on 4 out of the 5 charges. Count 1 is the only one. That's why I'm like, what's count 1? Is that the over? That's the over. Ain't that the Rico? Like, that's the main one, right? Like, that's the. I don't know.
And so first of all, Melissa, thank you so much for this great question. How can they have a verdict on counts 2 through 5, but not on 1? That's confusing. Please explain. This is my take, okay? Each one of these charges is separate consideration. They each have their own elements. They could easily say, okay, Sean Combs, I think he transported men and Jane and Cassie across state lines for the purposes of sex work, okay? That's transportation to engage in prostitution. You don't need force, fraud, or coercion. Sex trafficking. Okay, let's talk about force, fraud, and coercion. We believe, let's say I was talking before, I think that he might be found guilty with respect to Cassie. We think that he used those methods to induce her on multiple locations to engage in freak-offs. Maybe Jane, not necessarily so much. These are separate determinations. Racketeering conspiracy is multiple elements. Yes, there are underlying crimes for racketeering conspiracy that include sex trafficking, that include transportation to engage in prostitution. And yes, as we talk about underlying predicate crimes, the jury could say, I think Diddy engaged in sex trafficking. I think he engaged in transportation to engage in prostitution. I think the prosecution has proven at least 2 underlying crimes. But what we have to remember is there is another part of racketeering conspiracy that may be causing them a holdup. Was Sean Combs the leader of a criminal organization, a criminal enterprise?
That's what I'm saying.
A criminal enterprise? Was there a conspiracy? Was there a criminal agreement to further a pattern of illegal activity? Were the assistants, were the bodyguards, was everybody knowing what was going on? Was there a common purpose? I'm not surprised, Sierra. I'm not surprised if they have come to a decision on 2 and 5 and they're hung up on racketeering, because that's its whole separate animal, right?
I couldn't agree with you more, Jesse. I mean, I guess I understand why some people may be confused. He's on trial. Is it either guilty or not guilty or a hung jury? But we've seen this even most recently in the Harvey Weinstein case. You know, we saw that there was a hung jury. It's a mixed verdict or a split verdict, what we call it. When there are multiple charges, you can be found not guilty of one, guilty of another, hung on another. That is something that is completely possible. It is confusing, though. And to me, I understand it. To your point, Jesse, they probably went through on the verdict verdict forms and we're looking, okay, he's charged with, racketeering conspiracy. Perhaps we'll wait until the end to go back to that one because there's a lot to go through. What about transportation to engage in prostitution? Counts 2 through 5. They probably went through all of those. We're able to agree a bit easier. And then to everything you just said, it's the racketeering conspiracy that is the most intense. It's the most confusing, especially when you bring in the predicate crimes, when we're talking about bribery or witness tampering or arson, forced labor. There are a multitude of them. We actually read out the verdict form here on the live stream recently because there are multiple different things to consider. So not only do they have to weigh the weeks upon weeks of testimony and evidence and going through and saying, okay, did the government prove this beyond a reasonable doubt? It makes sense to me that there's a disagreement here simply because it's very confusing. And exactly to what you were saying, this is a common question, by the way, that a lot of our law and crime viewers have come to us and asked about the fact that P. Diddy, Sean Combs, is the defendant here, and there are no co-defendants. There are no alleged co-conspirators of this racketeering conspiracy, which generally has multiple co-conspirators. I mean, there may have been some, but they're not listed as co-defendants. So is that confusing for jurors? And perhaps maybe that's actually what it is.
Okay.
I agree.
So this just in, y'all. This just in. So they ended the day. So the judge, all rise. You know how they do. If you ever been to court, the judge said very briefly, thank you. Tomorrow, go directly into the jury room. Keep an open mind. Do not watch or read about the case. We'll see each other tomorrow. All rise, and it's over with. So they're gonna be tomorrow. Today is adjourned. Today is adjourned. They got him guilty on. I mean, not guilty. Why I keep saying fucking guilty? They have reached a verdict. My bad. I'm not trying to troll. They have reached a verdict on 4 of the 5 charges, but they're coming back tomorrow.
Voodoo. Love the show, Jesse. Thank you so much. What are the chances and ramifications if the split on count 1 is 11-1, with the holdout being the problem juror from Monday? Remember, they talked about the juror's first note was, I believe it was juror 25. The allegation was the juror wasn't following the jury instructions. It's a fair question to ask and a good question to ask, Adante.
Yeah, sure. If once the jury comes back.
Hey man, shout out to everybody in the chat, man. Good afternoon. I don't know if you at home, if you at the work, if you at the school. Well, on the East Coast, y'all all out. Smash that like, man. We got 127 people. I appreciate everybody here. Welcome to the channel. Hit the subscribe button. Hit that like. Hit that like. You know I got to fight through the algorithm. Let's push through this shit. What y'all think? Diddy guilty or not? They coming back tomorrow to finalize it. They reached a verdict on 4 out of 5 charges, so that means there's only one. It's count 1. I think that's the RICO. Like I would think
The prosecution will be
the main one
emboldened. They'll
is.
say, look,
I don't
the
know.
problem child is the one that kept us from getting a clean sweep if he is convicted on the other 4 charges. And so they'll retry it again. Now, if it's the other way, 11-1 for acquittal, and by chance that holdout is someone who's for the prosecution, which I think is unlikely given they were able to reach unanimous verdicts on the other
said guilty.
4 charges, then the prosecution may abandon
Brittany said not guilty.
prosecuting that charge. But I think what's more likely, if it is 11-1 and the problem child is the holdout that kept the prosecution from getting a clean sweep, you'll see a RICO trial again in Manhattan.
Really? You believe that? They would go through this all for that charge?
I think so. Look, they went to a lot of lengths, witnesses, a lot of the receipts. You had all these different people coming in for that particular charge. So I think the government really wants that.
Adante, I know you have to run. I know you have to catch your flight. Thank you so much. Really appreciate it. Good seeing you, my friend. All right, Bradford, go to you now. Got a question from Corey Fifield. Can the jury members change their mind on one of the counts they decided about? When they come back tomorrow? Or are the verdicts for counts 2 to 5 locked in?
They're not locked. Anybody can change their minds until till the fat lady sings. Once it's read in court and it's officially signed by the foreman and handed to the judge, that's when they can't. Well, even then they could say, "Hey, that's not my verdict," and something could happen after that. But generally, that doesn't happen. But yes, anytime before then, they could just say, like, "Hey, listen, I've decided. I thought about it yesterday. I'm not going to do it. I'm not going guilty. I want to go not guilty," or the other way around. Any day of the week that could happen. And by the way, I just want to comment on one thing. I think if it is a hung jury on the RICO charge, the likelihood that he gets recharged and redone, a new trial on the RICO charge, I think is slim to none. I don't think they want any more dealings with Diddy. I don't think that this group of prosecutors are going to be there after this. I think that they are all going to move on to greener pastures, and I think this is something that they are going to put into the past. I think if there's a hung charge, I don't see it being retried unless there is some kind of Uno reverso card and he gets some sort of pardon or commutation from the government, from this administration. I don't see them recharging that count.
Well, you just answered the question from JRiz87, super chat question. Thank you so much. Do you think P. Diddy will get a retrial if he gets a hung jury? Asafa, what do you think?
You know, I don't think that they're going to want to spend the government resources to put this trial on.
Shut up. I see you, Ryan.
But it depends. You know, it's up to the government to make that decision, but they would have to call in all of these witnesses, essentially, quote unquote, re-victimize some of these individuals who, you know, may be in a sensitive state. We know Miss Ventura was in the process of about getting ready to have a baby. When the trial would be scheduled, are they going to call this expert again? There's so many moving parts to putting a trial together that is a big decision. And also the resources that it would take and the time that it would take, and getting a jury again on a case like this after this has been so publicized throughout the world.
No
so I don't know that they're going to try to go for it again. I would caution on the side that they would not.
Safa, let me just throw a follow-up question to you. This is from Francisca. Jesse, what do you think? Do you think the other counts are guilty or not guilty? And do you think Diddy will serve any time in jail? So let me just reiterate what I think. And then Safa, tell me if he's convicted of sex trafficking and he's convicted of transportation to engage in prostitution, what could potential prison time look like? Let's put that on pause. Again, let me just reiterate to Francisca. Based on what I've seen from today and during the deliberations and this note, I believe that they have found him guilty of transportation to engage in prostitution. I think that they have found him also guilty with respect to sex trafficking of Cassie, particularly because of the notes today that were about concrete, specific examples of sex trafficking, and they came back with a verdict on that relatively quickly. I also feel that they found him not guilty with respect to sex trafficking of Jane, partially because they didn't have any questions, any readback of testimony with respect to Jane. That is suspect, to say the least. So let me ask you this. Again, Safa, do you think Diddy will serve any time in jail if he's convicted of sex trafficking and transportation to engage in prostitution? What could he be looking at?
I think he's definitely going to serve some time in jail. And he's already in custody right now. So all of the time that he has spent in custody is counting towards any sentence that he ultimately might be sentenced to by this particular judge. He's looking at, if he's only convicted of those counts and not of the RICO, of up to 15 years. And so in terms of sentencing, there are going to be a number of factors that go into what his exact sentence will be. The judge can take a number of things into consideration, including, you know, some of the other allegations that were heard or information that he gained from sitting through this trial. Not only that, but there's going to be a pre-sentence investigation that digs into his life and things of that nature that will help guide the judge into what his sentence is going to be. You're also going to have Mr. Combs' attorneys putting together a mitigation package, which essentially would humanize Mr. Combs to the judge to say, give him the most lenient sentence possible, judge, for these reasons. The government, of course, we can expect is going to come in and ask for the maximum, especially if they lose on that RICO charge.
By the way, I said that we have incredible viewers. Listen to this. This is from Miss on Average. Watched every single...
Hey, listen, for everybody who don't know, they have reached a verdict on 4 out of the 5 charges today. They just they deliberating about 1, but they're gonna come back tomorrow. But 4 out of the 5 charges, 2 through 5. So count number 1 is the only one that they ain't agree on yet. You know what I'm saying? So I don't know. I don't know, gang. It's looking. I don't know. Like, are all those innocent? Like, are all those innocent? Do you think they all said those 4 charges are innocent? Like, I don't know. Maybe it's probably like some of them innocent, some I don't know.
Of a sex trafficking with concerning Cassie, those predicate crimes aren't they much easier to prove at that point? I mean, if you're saying, hey, yeah, he's guilty on sex trafficking with Cassie, to your point, which you were discussing, that you think that he might be guilty on the sex trafficking with Cassie, I think it would be a lot easier to get that RICO charge and get a guilty on the RICO charge. That's why I'm leaning towards the not guilty. That's my reasoning behind it. Because if you're saying, yeah, he sex trafficked her, he did all these things, he distributed pills because, you know, she said that he handed me pills and he handed me drugs. It's easier to get to that guilty on RICO than a split on the RICO and a guilty on the trafficking, unless they're just splitting the baby. It is a very, to me, this is a very unique way that the jury has been looking at the case. And like I said before, I loved Mark's closing, where he was saying, you know, no one came forward. This is the government looking for the crime and finding the guy. This isn't all of a sudden a victim came forward and then they're like, let's investigate this. That's not how this went. And it could be anyone. It could be you. It could be you. It could be you. I love this closing. I thought he did an excellent job. No matter what the outcome is here, I think the defense did a very, very nice job with what they had and what they had to work with. And I'll be interested to see how this all shakes out because of all the guessing, right? We all sit here, we all guess. But at the end of the day, we all could be wrong. So we'll see how
100%.
this all shakes out.
100% could all be wrong.
So look, shout out to Nika at Night. I thought she was gonna go live again, but this is her first take from being in the actual courtroom. But like I said, they have a verdict on 4 out of the 5 counts. So they just deliberating still about that one. Listen to how she described how she seen Diddy, how he was looking all crazy, and she said the nigga was looking real, like it was looking ugly. She said it was looking, I don't know. She said it was looking ugly. Shout out to Nika at Night. She's in that motherfucker. Shout out Uda. Uda in there too. Uda been doing his thing too. Shout out Uda. See, I'll be seeing you in the chat when you leave your comments sometime, my nigga, too.
Story of what life.
Interview, my nigga.
So this is a quick update right outside of the courthouse. Now, it is intense in there. Now, nobody was expecting for a jury to come back this quick. Now, the verdict, they have reached a verdict on all counts except for count 1. Okay, except for count 1. Now, Diddy is looking defeated inside. He has his lawyers surrounded around him. He's sitting in a chair with his head sunk down. At one point, he looked like he may have been crying. They were around him in a circle. They were like trying to console him, putting their arm on him, and all surrounding around him. It was intense. Now, a lot of times when they come back and they have a note, all the attorneys come in, but this time it was different. This time he looked somber, and we were all looking like, wait a minute, if it's just a note, why are they huddled around him like that? And then he just started to sink and sink and sink and sink in his chair, and they were pacing back and forth. You saw his lawyer, Mark Agnifilo, pacing back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, and you can look and see the worry on their faces. Now, again, if you guys are just coming in, they came back with a verdict on all of the charges except count 1. Okay, so count 1, the jury is saying that they are deadlocked on either side. They cannot come with a unanimous decision. Now, neither party wants them to be gridlocked. So they are discussing whether or not they are going to propose a Allen charge to basically tell them to continue to deliberate. The prosecution does not want them to stop right now. The defense does not want them to stop right now. They want them to keep going, or they might consider doing a partial verdict, but they have reached a verdict in just a day and some hours on all of the counts except for count 1. Okay, so this is why, okay, and this is why I understand why y'all said it's needed for me to be here, because when everybody was around here telling y'all about the closing arguments, I told you the real about the closing arguments, okay? I told you the real about the closing arguments. That's all I'm gonna say. We're gonna talk later. but it is a real scene inside the courtroom. It is, I'm like, I cannot wait to see the sketch that she makes of the scene that was going on right now, because the way they were huddled around, the way he was sinking down and putting his head down, and you could see his mom just sitting there like looking worried, like it was crazy. It was intense. Like one of the girls that was in there, who's also a content creator, she said, my chest is starting to hurt. She said, I feel like this is my trial. Now let me talk to Gerald, because Gerald was right there.
It's bad. Diddy, everything Neat said, it's really bad. He looked real nervous, looked like he was crying because he was doing like this.
Sorry.
Looked like he was crying.
How y'all doing? Y'all know y'all can't be here. Y'all gotta move.
Good,
all right?
Yeah, we gonna move. We gonna move.
Pictures, take care.
I mean, you ain't tell them over there.
Because y'all got the camera in front.
Oh, okay. We about to move.
Anyways, it was very, very tense. Everything that Neat said is very, very tense. It don't look good for Diddy. He was shaking his head. Mr. Brian still was rubbing on his shoulders. I mean, it don't look good for him. They may have a guilty verdict on count 1 or count 2 through 5.
We don't know what the verdict is.
Yeah, we don't know what it is.
We're just going off of
body language.
Yeah, right.
It's not good. But count 1, racketeering, they are deadlocked on that. They can't come to. They have unpersuadable differences, is what the note says. So we just waiting. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Yes. And so he's about to go live.
Yeah,
so I didn't want to pull him.
No, you good.
It stopped raining. So we're gonna move from right here because we're not supposed to be in the front. But it was raining. It was raining really, really hard. So let me put y'all down for 1 second so I can put my stuff in my bag, because I'm not supposed to be right here. So hold on. Let me move, y'all. Just 1 second. Let me throw my stuff in my bag. Let me throw my stuff in my bag, y'all. But I had to come tell y'all the breaking news. All right, now before they cuss us out and put us out, we gonna move, child. But I had to come and risk telling y'all the breaking news first. So hold on 1 second. Oh wait, do I need to get my umbrella? I think I'll be fine. All right, so that's what's going on right now, you guys. We literally almost have a full verdict. What are you guys' predictions? They've only been deliberating for 1 day and a half, okay? It's been 1 day and a half, and they have a verdict on every count except for 1, okay? So there was 5 charges. They have a verdict on 4 of them, okay? So they are mostly through their deliberation. They are, I'm out of breath. Can you describe the scene inside the courtroom right now?
You guys, inside the courtroom, it is so intense. I felt like I was sitting in the seat with him. When he looked down and then he began to cry, everyone speculated he was crying. Some people went up there.
Oh, his family is coming. Sorry.
Oh yeah, let's go. Girl.
We gotta catch his family coming in. The family is coming. Oh, they're leaving. They're not leaving. They can be leaving. All right, let me show y'all. He said they leaving. Maybe they're leaving, maybe they're not. I don't know. All right, I'm gonna mute the mic real quick, y'all.
Not everyone's life runs in straight lines. At Sophia, we get that. Our flexible, affordable, self-paced college-level courses help thousands of people just like you complete their degrees for only $99 a month.
Oh, sorry, y'all. I'm sorry it went mute. I said, this is how I look trying to get y'all the shot. I'm sorry, y'all. I'm sorry, y'all. His sons just went in. So Christian, Justin, and some of his the last kid's baby mama just went in. Child, ooh, it's intense, y'all. It is intense. It is intense. I'm sorry I accidentally went mute, but hopefully you guys could have still saw. The family is in there. This is crazy. Whew. Oh my goodness. Oh my Lord. They aren't kids, they're his kids. You're right. They're not kids, they're his kids. But as long as y'all saw them going in, that's all that matters. I'm over here in the trenches, y'all. I'm in the trenches for y'all, okay? I had to come down and get in the trenches for y'all because if y'all would have seen the scene inside the courtroom, oh my God, oh my goodness. Now, I'm gonna go back in for a second.
Oh man, what the hell is going on with the diddler? God damn it, Diddy! This nigga really facing life in prison, bro. Like, who would
I
have
saw
thought
his
that?
family members, some that we haven't seen this morning inside the courtroom, start to kind of trickle in. That included all of his sons. That included his daughters, too. And that included also Dana Tran. It included his mother, Janice. It included his sister, Keisha. It included his brother-in-law, too. So it was a pretty packed courtroom. I was thinking at a point that they would just read the verdict. I didn't know what was going to be going on. Obviously, everyone, they did not read the verdict. None of that had happened. But really, you could feel just the tense atmosphere to the point a lot of us in the press, obviously, are going to be looking at Sean Combs, looking at his movement, looking at his demeanor, but because the defense huddled so close around him, likely to kind of prevent us from seeing
The fuck is going on?
what his demeanor looked like and for us to write it down, those types of things. It really was a tight circle. So it really was kind of a tense atmosphere. And obviously when the judge got back on the bench and he said that the jury came back that they said that they reached a verdict on count 2, 3, 4, and 5, but they're still kind of not been able to reach a verdict as to count 1. I think a lot of us were just like, oh my God, it's happening. It's happening. Obviously, the verdict wasn't read. They're going to come back tomorrow, continue deliberating. But you could feel the weight of the world, especially on the defendant, but also the Combs family. But I will say, Jesse, when they brought the jury in, because they brought them in twice, one to kind of read them, I guess, that modified Allen charge about continuing to deliberate, and then the second time to release them by the end of the day. I will say I did kind of note that they weren't looking in the defendant's direction. I think a lot of them were making their way all the way to their seat, didn't know what the next process would be because, again, they're jurors. They don't know what's going to be happening. They didn't know if they were going to be told to continue deliberating tonight, if they could have the option to come back tomorrow. Obviously, the judge gave them the option to come back tomorrow, but even when they were exiting the courtroom, from what I could see, I couldn't see them necessarily looking at the defendant. But if it was vice versa, I did see the defendant looking at the jurors. So, maybe some people kind of did like a little peripheral eye glance look or anything like that. From what I could see, they didn't look in his direction. So we'll see what tomorrow brings as far as what their possible decision might end up being and the outcome.
Let me ask you this: the modified Allen charge that the judge gave to the jury, what exactly did he tell them? Did he say, go back deliberating? It's different, and it's modified because I think they were trying to stay consistent with what the actual jury instructions were. What exactly did Judge Arun Subramanian tell them?
Well, he told them to keep on deliberating. He said that each and every single one of you must decide the case for himself or for herself, and that no juror should pretty much waver on their opinions in terms of if they feel some type of way, that they should feel that type of way, and it's okay for them to feel that type of way. But in terms of just even what's going to be happening next is the jury will come back, everyone, and they'll deliberate a little bit, and then and then they'll continue on whether or not they need to bring in more specified instructions. But from the defense's perspective, they were pretty adamant that they think it's too early for them to come back with any type of split verdict or anything like that. They were very adamant that they wanted the jury to continue deliberating, but also not give them such a specific instruction in terms of when to come back, whether or not they want to continue on with court on Thursday, or if they want to have a decision made, those types of things. They really were just adamant, just let the jury continue deliberating from their perspective, because it's been weeks of testimony, because there's been so much evidence, because there's been so many witnesses. They being the defense were like, okay, we want them to continue deliberating, but we'll see what happens. I keep saying we'll see what happens tomorrow because I felt like we could see what happens today, but yeah, it seems like we're very, very close, especially since they reached a decision on 2, 3, 4, and 5.
We got a commenter.
Oh man, so I guess it's gonna be a part two. It's gonna be tomorrow. The verdict is in part two tomorrow. They reached the verdict on 4 out of the 5 counts. The only one that they haven't reached the verdict on is the number one, the biggest count, the RICO. I don't know what y'all think. Hung jury, not guilty, guilty. This shit can go a couple. If it can go a few different ways now. I just can't believe that as a kid, and then growing up, and then now, and Diddy, all the stuff that they were saying about Diddy over the years, and then all this shit come out and it was true. A lot come on, gang, this nigga Diddy is it's 2025 and Diddy is on trial. What the fuck? Hey man, you never know. Listen, man, I'm gonna pop back in later with y'all doing the music stream later, man. Appreciate everybody that pulled up. Smash them likes, drop some comments. Let me know in the comments, guilty or not guilty. If you want to support the channel, hit the Cash App, IQ Shaheed, $ IQ Shaheed, hit the Cash App. Diddy, Diddy, Diddy.